Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our Parent and Child series. Today it will be the second part of our Home Office edition, where we will talk a little bit about security. Yes, it happens to the best of us. Something like an emergency is happening, the child needs a loo. We just stop in the vicinity of the nearest restaurant, grab the child from the back seat and jump into the restaurant, find our way to the loo, and while we wipe everything clean, we suddenly remember, ooh, I left the key in the car, in the ignition. We run back to our car, child dragging behind us, trousers still down, and the car's gone. What a bad day it is. But some people, they do it every day. They don't need an emergency. They just leave their car with a key in the ignition every day. And when it gets stolen and the police takes their report and the police officer asks, why did you leave the key in the ignition? They say, yeah, it came with the car. So I thought it was best to keep it where it was. You know that's not the way things are to be? No, I don't know. I've never heard anything about it. But I think theft is unlawful in this country. So please, bring me my car back. And that is about how many people operate their computers. And that's what we are talking about today. So, we will have a thought about what is it, what is home office security. First, we will have a look at the threats. So the worst of all, the worst thing that could possibly happen to you is identity theft. Somebody steals everything which is necessary to set up a double of yourself. So your social security number, your bank accounts, your email accounts, your everything which is you is gone. And he is using it to impersonate you. You can imagine that that is the worst nightmare, to prove that he's not you, but you are you, because he knows exactly what you know. And he has copies of every document from your birth certificate to your passport to your bank cards, everything. So that is the worst possible outcome from cybercrime that could happen to you. The second one, which is life-changing or maybe life-destroying, is financial loss. Somebody is able to access your financial data and spend your money or even take out loans in your name. That can destroy lives as well. Unresponsive hardware, so you can't work, you can't do anything with your computer. And last not least, a loss of privacy. Things you would not want to be in the open are exposed. Everybody knows about what's going on in your private life, and that can be life destroying as well. So there are a few threats which go far beyond the virus on a computer. I mean, having a virus is bad, but it doesn't change your life. What really changes your life is things which go deep, deep, deep into your personal existence. And if we look at the possible answers, first of all, don't expose anything you don't want to be out in the open. So if you need a copy for your passport, then scan it, but delete it if you don't need it anymore. If you need to fill in forms where you put your data in, delete them when they are sent. There's no need to keep it on your computer just in case. Just in case could be somebody else is accessing it. Don't post photos on the internet which include information you don't want to be out in the open. So think before you open yourself up to vulnerabilities. And don't expose anything you don't need to. You don't need to put everything out in the open, because there might be informations in there which you actually don't want to expose. There was this wonderful thing where they had the 3D tour through a house which was up for sale, and the drone camera filmed all the documents on the desk. So millions of internet users had all the informations needed to set up an internet account in the name of the person who just wanted to sell his house. Don't use third-party services for things like photos or document share or document storage if you don't want them to be exposed. If there is a possibility, there will be a case. So basically, think about what you store on your computers and how long you store it, where you store it, and what could possibly be done with it. You wouldn't leave your keys on a pub table if you go to the toilet, would you? I mean, probably in a rural pub where everybody knows everybody, but still you run a risk of the stranger coming in and grabbing your keys. Second, make yourself aware. Make yourself aware about things which happen. So do a search about scams, do a search about password security, do a search about identity theft, and then you know what is around the corner or what might be around the corner, and then you can make a more informed decision how you would want to go about. The next thing is, before you buy anything or install anything, just make a little bit of research. There are so many things. We just had it recently that there was a NAS company which had a major breakdown and security breach, and people lost all their documents, and they didn't know or couldn't figure out if they were just encrypted or if they were actually stolen. So before you buy or install anything, make a proper research. I mean, if you want to use your phone for home banking, for internet banking, then you probably should spend some time thinking about how secure your phone is. What would happen if you lose it? Who gains access to the data who is on the which are on the phone? And that means sometimes that there are fewer options for things to buy, that there are fewer options for you to obtain things on the market. But on the other hand, you always have the option not to expose your data. So if you want to buy a dirt cheap phone, then you can just decide not to do internet banking with it. Or if you want to buy the latest gadget before there are any reviews or before there's any information available, maybe you should just limit the things you do on them. So not expose things you don't want to. The next very easy answer is keep your software up to date. All breaches of security, or 99.9% of them, are because somebody stumbled upon something which is not secure. And usually this is not done in a day or two, but it takes some time to figure something out, which is basically a backdoor or a security breach, a possible way into your device. So once they have figured it out, there's enough time, usually, not always, some companies just don't respond to security leaks and they don't patch it, but usually you get a patch. So that is one of the informations you have to research. Is the company you're buying from one which does patches, or do they not patch their devices when there is a breach in software or in security? I mean, just look at the way how you buy a car. You would take into account how safe it is, how many miles you are going to run, and how secure the supply of parts is. You wouldn't buy a $50,000 car if you wouldn't get the car parts for it, or if the manufacturer wouldn't update the software. So keep it up to date, and that will take many of the challenges away you are facing. And then there's some so basic stuff that it is just don't put all your eggs in one basket, and don't be lazy. So there is no such thing as the do it all computer. If you want to do work on your computer, then this computer is for work only. Don't mix it up with all your private browsing and all your gaming, and don't store all your photos and don't read all your emails on the same machine. You have one email address which is for work, and you have another one which is for private. And you don't read your private emails on your work machine. You do it on your phone or wherever, but you don't do it on your work machine. And that cuts a lot off. And you don't do your internet browsing on your work machine. Do it on your phone or do it on your private laptop. Next thing is, if it is easy, it will most likely be unsafe. So if you store valuable information because you don't want to type it in every time, if you just leave it as it is because it's too much bother to change it, then it will be probably not very safe. If you know what you're doing, if you level your work you put into your security, into the risks you're taking, and you know exactly what you're doing, then that's completely fine. So I don't do internet banking. I just don't do it because I know my level of security on my personal devices is just not good enough to do internet banking. So I sacrifice the comfort of internet banking to the comfort of not giving too much thought about my security risks on my private devices. And that is with everything. So if I take the effort and set up secure passwords, then that is because I want to have the freedom of doing anything I want. But for that freedom, I have to put in the work. I can't just have the best of both worlds. It's just not working. And last not least, if anything goes wrong, if there is something going on your computer which is bothering you, don't panic. First of all, you can always cut the cord. Usually, when there is a pop-up or when there is malicious activity going on, if you pull the network cable, then no more data can be transmitted. And if you turn the computer off, nothing whatsoever can happen. And if you are unsure of what happened, take your computer or your laptop to somebody you can trust who knows about things. You can always take the hard disk out or take whatever medium is in there out, connect it to another computer which runs on a different operating system. So I can put every hard disk from a Windows machine into one of my Unix machines, and I can just scan what is going on without any risk of being infected and without any of whatever malicious activity has been going on this hard disk being able to proceed. So don't panic. Just cut the cord, turn off your machine, and then seek for help. Don't do anything which could endanger you more, or even damage, or even exceed the damage which is already or hasn't been done at all, because you've just seen something which is not dangerous at all. So now let's have a look at the things which are basic, very basic, and just bread and butter. Very basic is, and the first step you should always do before you connect to the internet, is secure your internet router. Every router has software which enables you to set up a firewall. I mean, even the most basic ones. Every router has a password. Every router has a firmware which can be updated. So basically the firmware is the operating system for the router itself. And unfortunately, we have to update it from time to time. Then you have various internet settings within your router, which you should make yourself familiar with. And you should also Google or get information from whatever provider. Google your specific model of router. Things might come up which are known security threats, and then you can do something about it. So then you will say, yeah, but how can I Google without a router? Yeah, you can Google on your phone, or you can Google on somebody else's computer before you connect your router to the internet. So basically, before you start, you have to find out, am I putting myself in danger with this machine if I connect to the internet with this machine? The other thing which I've seen so often is the password isn't changed. I mean, that is the basic thing. You can't leave your front door open. If this router, your personal one, has a password set already, so then you will know, or by the nature of this fact, that somebody else knows the default password. And where there is a way, there is a bush. So you just need to set a password and use a secure one. Your router is exposed to the internet 24/7. So that means if this thing doesn't work the way it should, you are, I don't want to use the word, you are in a very bad place. The second one, or the third one, is if you want to work from home, and if you want to set up a home office, or if you need to because things have changed due to the pandemic, maybe you want to consider a dedicated firewall. I started with IP-COP, which is now IP-Fire. And that is something which you might want to consider. Just look it up. I would show you the internet, the website later. That might be a thing depending on how secure your network needs to be. I mean, don't get me wrong, but if you are a lawyer or an accountant or somebody who works in sensitive things like social workers, you have to take care of what happens. And even if you use a VPN connection, if somebody manages to get onto your local network and then intrudes your computer, nothing is saved by using a VPN connection. So that's the very basic. The basic is use different routers. Use one for your wired net and one for your wireless LAN. That way you will just have two different net paths which are divided from each other. It's like having a fire door between your first and your second floor. And with this comes the advice, use multiple subnets. So use at least one for your wired and one for your wireless net. But if you use more machines, if you use different computers within your household, then set up dedicated subnets. So use a subnet for your work computer, which only includes the absolute necessary machines you need to do your work. And try to avoid things which are unsafe or unsecure. So don't include the printer which is used by everybody in your household into your worknet, because the settings for the printer might not be the safest one. So use a dedicated printer for your work and use a dedicated subnet where there is no PlayStation involved on the same IP address range. So if you don't connect with those other machines, and if your satellite receiver and your Skybox and your whatever Xbox are not part of your work, why would they be in the same subnet as your work computer? Last and not least, keep all your software up to date. So put routines aside to update your software. As I said, security breaches are usually because software is outdated. If you keep your software up to date, then you're safer than without. And users of proprietary software know that software updates sometimes damage your devices. Yeah, unfortunately, that happens. And that is bad. But if a software update damages your device, whoever did the update is liable. If you don't update and somebody breaks into your network and steals all your data, the only person who's liable is yourself. So things might go wrong if you update routinely and It might be bad, but I can assure you it won't be as bad as if you don't update. The best way to invite somebody to break into your house is not to change the lock in 100 years. The basic things. Never leave a default password unchanged. And never use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is just not working. I mean, you are using your home as an office. Then you better behave as if you're in an office. And then if you buy a new device, whatever device it is, adjust the device to the purposes of your network. That means if you buy a game console, give it a different subnet. If you buy a game console, make sure it doesn't interfere with any of the things you want to keep safe. I mean, I know that some of those things have, like Android, you can easily do your internet banking on a game console, but you just shouldn't. It is not safe. And it is not safe. You connect your private phone with all your private informations, with all your juicy photos to your work computer. You just shouldn't. So what you're acquiring, what you want to connect to your network, needs to have its place on the network and its dedicated place. So the next thing is we would like you to like and subscribe. We will put out some more videos, especially about setting up firewalls and how actually you should be setting up your routers. But that is not only time consuming but also a very security sensitive thing, so we have to edit the video a lot so not to give away informations we wouldn't like to be out in the open. So if you like it, please like and subscribe. Visit us at www.witnosh.net or email us at video@witnosh.net. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day and stay safe.